Hola Amores, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Christina, aka Tu Vecina Favorita que Maquilla. And today's video is yet another Let's Chat style video. So if you're new to my channel, I mainly do makeup tutorials and things related to beauty and makeup. But today, as y'all can see, I'm rocking a fresh face, no makeup, no foundation, no nothing except for some lip gloss and some mascara. Honestly, I just didn't feel like doing a full beat right now. It's too early, I'm still kind of tired, so maybe later. But anyway, the topic of today's video. So I'm in a group chat, right? And it's a mix of guys and girls. Half of us are Hispanic, the other half are African American. And so somebody posed the question, is claiming your ethnicity or your nationality a distraction from having to really claim your race? So my first reaction was automatically no. But I can see how someone could use claiming their nationality, their culture, their ethnicity as a way to not really having to claim a race, you know, or having to really touch that subject, you know. But I think there's, as a Black person or mixed with Black, I think one is we need to educate ourselves on the experience of the Black person throughout the African diaspora and really examine and learn why Black people in the US versus the Caribbean or wherever, they don't all necessarily identify the same way. So although we all come from countries, or our parents come from countries in which slavery existed, which is pretty much most of the Western Hemisphere, the after effects of slavery, the societal effects of slavery, the racial relations between white and Black people was very different throughout. And I think leading up to now, that's a big factor in why not every Black person identifies the same way. So, for example, in the Caribbean, in a lot of these countries, after, you know, colonization, after slavery, a lot of the white people in these countries, they dipped. They no longer had any interest really in these countries, and they pretty much left the Black or mixed populations having to fend for themselves. So although it wasn't the best situation for a lot of these countries economically, and you know, that's why you'll find a lot of these countries are still struggling, like Haiti, for example, you know, the French really, the French really messed them up. And the fact that they had to pay France back, you know, after, you know, slavery was abolished. And, you know, I don't know too much of the intricate details of what happened there, but to me, that's bullshit. Like, what? Like, why did Haiti have to pay them back? Like, that's just ridiculous to me. But anyway, I'm sure that had a big adverse effect on their economy. But anyway, so like I said, the Black people had to fend for themselves. But as a result of that, the positive to that is that these countries were able to produce leaders, Black leaders, you know, governments in which they saw themselves. They were being represented by their own people. You know, you have educational systems run by Black people. There was no longer an elitist white supremacist class basically ruling everything. So over time, the people from these countries developed, you know, their own unique nationalistic cultures that they are very proud of. And so I think that's why you will find that, you know, a lot of people from the Caribbean, they will identify first by their nationality or, you know, their culture before race. Because at the end of the day, these are countries in which the majority of the people are already Black. Like, you can look at me and see that I'm Black. Like, I know that you're Black. You know that I'm Black. So there's not like this pressure to constantly say, I'm Black, I'm Black, I'm Black. Or you don't have a white person constantly reminding you, you're Black, you're Black, you're Black. You get what I'm trying to say? And of course, I mean, I know there's also a lot of other mixtures in these countries as well. I know Jamaica, for one, they have, you know, Asian ancestry, and like Trinidad, for example, they have a lot of, how you say it? Douglas, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but you know, mixed African and Indian ancestry. So of course there's other mixtures in here as well, but the majority of the populations are Black. Now, if you move to the Spanish-speaking Caribbean countries, I feel like it gets a little trickier when it comes to racial identification, because I feel like there was a bit more mixing between the whites and the Black people in these countries. So places like, you know, Cuba, DR, Puerto Rico, of course there are substantial Black populations in these countries, but there's also substantial white or mestizo populations here as well. So when it comes to mixed people, it's like, which race how do you identify when it comes to race? Because in the society we live in, especially here in the US, it's like you're kind of forced to pick a side. And especially if you're mixed with Black, it's like you're going to have to identify as Black. You know, me, for example, you look at me, you see a dark-skinned Black woman. Cool. But if you look at my DNA, I'm only half Black. This is based on my ancestry DNA. So, I mean, how accurate they are, I don't know. But based on that, I'm only 52% Black. The rest is European and Native American. But I think, especially being a dark-skinned person, it's just easier to just identify as Black. So it's like, again, where do they fall? And I think in cases like that, where you have populations of people that are so mixed, it is easier to identify first with your culture or your ethnicity or your nationality before race. And so another thing is, kind of going back to like what I was saying, you know, a lot of these countries don't have a white ruling class constantly telling them or reminding them that they're Black, or, you know, there is no institution set up in these countries where Black people are, you know, forced to the bottom of the societal totem pole, you know, like everyone coexists in the society equally. Now, is there colorism? Of course. Is there differences between social classes as far as like wealth, like rich versus poor? Yes. And if anything, I think that's even more so a problem in a lot of these countries than racism is, you know? But anyway, so somebody else in my group chat said, for a Black person, race always comes first. So I agree and I disagree. Again, I disagree because of everything I just stated. The experience of the Black person throughout the African diaspora is different. Therefore, how they identify is different. But as a Black person, whether you're majority Black, mixed with Black, especially if you're dark-skinned, regardless of your ethnicity, your nationality, whatever culture you identify with, here in the United States, you are Black. And I think that is a reality that all Black or dark-skinned people in the U.S. have to accept. That's just the reality of what the society is here, because in the United States, there is a ruling white class that makes the majority of the decisions that will discriminate against you. And I mean, at the end of the day, your race here, it can determine whether you live or not at the hands of a police officer, you know? Like, it's very real. So whether you, in your own mind, choose to identify first with your ethnicity versus your race, like for me, I always identify first as Dominican or Hispanic. Like, that's what I've always done. That's probably what I always will do. But I also realize that by the United States racial, societal classification, whatever you want to call it, I am a Black woman. Like, I am very much aware of that. So again, regardless of how you self-identify, we have to also be aware the white man is going to see us as Black. That just is what it is. And like a white police officer, especially if you're a male, a Black or dark-skinned male in this country, is not going to be like, hold up. Are you African American or are you Dominican? Okay. Oh, you Dominican. All right. I guess you get a pass then. Like, nah, bruh, nah. They're going to look at us equally the same. And again, and I don't want to make it seem like, I don't know, our world should revolve around what the white man thinks and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I mean, it shouldn't be like that either. But the climate that we live in, the current state of race relations in this country, and the fact that racism is still very alive and well. And a lot of these white racists and white supremacists, they getting real bold due to number 45. You know, it's just a reality we have to accept, y'all. For a Black person in the United States, yes, race does come first. But at the same time, I think we also have to be understanding of why Black people from other parts of the world do not subscribe to this same thinking that we have to identify by race first and that's it. Or, you know, the one drop rule mentality. That is very much a thing here. The United States, I think, has the most narrow perception of race in the world. Like, you can be literally half Black, or maybe, I don't know. The point is, if there's any bit of Black in you, you are Black. You are Black, and that is it. Whereas in other parts of the world, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Or if you come from a country where the majority of the population is already Black, you still find that they identify first with their nationality or their culture or even their tribe. You know, I've heard Africans say this, like, everybody is Black, but I'm always going to identify with my culture first. You know, so it's just, I think we just need to be understanding of each other. I think African Americans I just want to say, don't take offense or, you know, look sideways at another Black person from another country that does identify first with their nationality or their culture. Like, be understanding of why they are that way. Be mindful of the fact that not every society is set up the way American society was, in which racism was very alive and well. Like, it was the white man's purpose to put Black people at the bottom of society. I mean, Jim Crow, like all these things, it just wasn't a thing in other countries. But at the same time, I want to tell all of my non-African American Black people, whether you're Hispanic, Black, Caribbean, whatever, let us also be mindful of the experience of Black people in the United States, and also why they think the way they do, why race is so much at the forefront of their minds. Because, man, I mean, the experience that African Americans, you know, families and generations of people have had to endure there is just no comparison. I always say Black people in America, I think, had it the worst out of everyone across the diaspora, as far as, you know, the institution of racism and everything that they had to endure. Like, let us also be mindful of their cultures and their families' struggles. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I don't know. I think we just, again, need to be understanding of each other's different experiences, each other's struggles, and not be so quick to point a finger, whether you're on this side or that side, you know? And, you know, I think also part of the reason is that Black people in America have been so used to being reduced to just a race or to a color that, and I don't know, I don't want to offend anyone, but I feel like a lot of African Americans too, they've gotten used to this mindset that they're nothing more than a color. And that it doesn't help when you have other Black people saying that African Americans don't have a culture. You know, that they're like the orphans of the Black world and stuff like that, which I'm like, I don't like hearing that, because it's like, they don't have the same sense of nationalistic pride in the United States that other Black people do. Let's get that straight. And I totally get why. How can you have pride in America or rep the U.S. this, the U.S. that, the way Dominican might rep DR, or the way Jamaican might rep Jamaica, when the U.S. has been so brutal to your people, you know? So yeah, they're not going to claim the U.S. like that, you know? And I mean, it's not to say some Black Americans can't be proud to be an American, but it's just nowhere near that same sense of nationalistic pride that other Black people have. So a lot of them are left just saying, I'm Black. or they'll just say African American, which African American is their ethnicity, that is their culture, because they are Black people that are in the United States. But anyway, man, this topic, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I think that we just need to be more knowledgeable about each other and on both ends. And I don't know, just have more compassion towards each other and educate each other, you know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way that we can come to some sort of unification of people across the African diaspora. You know, we have to be aware and, you know, understanding of each other's differences, but also find a way to band together, you know, with the similarities that we do have, which at the end of the day, the uniting factor in all this is that a lot of us are descendants of enslaved Africans. It all goes back to Africa, you know, so we're all extremely distant cousins at the end of the day. But anyway, that was on my little 2 cents on this topic. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you'd like to see makeup tutorials, any of my other Let's Chat style videos, or if you're Dominican and want to see some of the videos I've made related to being Dominican, check them all out. I have a few playlists for each subject. So yeah, I will catch you all in the next video. Bye.